Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of SuperCoach Edge. Always a pleasure to have your patronage. And of course, it's the end of round one, season kicked off. Hopefully you survived the absolute carnage. So without further ado, let's jump into my team and see how I went. So as you can see here, ended up scoring a 1,113 and was okay. I was happy enough to sort of reach the 1,100 mark. That was kind of a little bit of a loose estimation that I had, just with the players that I had in my team. Team value, as you can see here, over 2 million, so not too bad. Early days, of course, there. But let's jump into my team and see it a little bit closer in a bit more detail. So as you can see there in terms of strategy, not really much changed, I don't think, from my last Team Reveal 3.0 episode that I did. I think I was weighing up between going for either Fraser McGurk or Menenti, and ended up going for McGurk. And likewise Sanger as well. He was kind of in that trio of players. So I ended up opting for Sanger and McGurk. So first and foremost, both of those boys, super happy, of course, that I opted for them, just purely because of the fact that, as you can see here, they've actually made a fair bit of coin. With McGurk went up 9.9k, but more so Sanger went up 19.5k, if you don't mind. So super happy with him, and I'll get into a little bit more detail about the importance of having him in your team and targeting him early on before he increases any more in price. So I'll jump into that a little bit later. But both of those guys from the outset, really happy with those cash cows. Darcy Short, as you can see here, on the bench ahead of the strikers, double in round two, and Cooper Connolly as well. A lot of people had him in their teams, 31% of teams. Probably less than what I thought that he would be in number of teams, but it went up 12.4k. Great role. He's kind of solidified his spot in the Scorchers lineup, which I spoke about in the previous episodes. Bowled probably 2 overs less than what I thought he would. Probably cramped in style because of the youngster Mackenzie bowling as well as he did. Taking a couple of wickets meant that they were able to give him his full allocation. If not for Mackenzie, I was expecting Cooper Connolly to bowl the full four, especially without Agar there. But I think for those people with Mackenzie, you'll be happy enough with the price rise got out of him. But I think with Agar and his imminent return, he will be back into the Scorchers team. And I think Mackenzie, unfortunately for him, will be relegated to the running drinks virtually. But that's there for my bench. McDermott as well, 21, not too bad. Looked all right early on, but wasn't able to capitalise with the bat. But 21, not too bad of a start, at least anyway. Cheap price, as we said, and he should be a nice little sort of cash cow, and also a bit of, relief off the bench if need be. Let's go through my team of those players on field. So strategically, as you can see here, I only went for 3 Heat players, and that was because the second Heat game, the weather forecast, and you've got to be across this, looked as though it was looking pretty murky and it was going to be raining. So I was thinking at least it was going to be, limited overs type game, but as it turned out, that the game was, virtually called off. So that was part of the reason why I limited myself with Heat players, and also being mindful of the fact that both the strikers and the Heat have both the collective bye coming up in round 3. So you don't really want to be overloaded in both Heat and strikers players, because you're going to be left short going into their bye. So as you can see there, Billings, popular player, he scored a 56, not too bad, above kind of the par that I had him. Only played the 2 games, obviously, as I spoke to, just with the abandoned game. So the Heat only playing 2 of the 3, but not too bad, 56. Did drop in price ever so slightly, but I think, with what he produced, was pretty good, and with the gloves as well, was also handy. Tom Curran, I spoke of him at length in previous episodes, how much I love him, and we saw there as to why that is, because as a genuine all-rounder with the bat, but more so with the ball, he was absolutely incredible, and without Abbott there in the second game for the Sixers, meant that Curran was really able to capitalise on those death overs and getting some really easy wickets. So was super happy with that, and he got the extra bonus, economy rate bonus there, as you can see there, which made up 35 points out of his total 128, so really crucial. And obviously the number of wickets there, 3 wickets, super handy as well. Colin Munro, as you can see there, he was a bit of a gamble for me. He's one of the more, and I spoke of this, he's one of the more reliable straight batsmen when it comes to BBL Supercoach. And that was the reason why I was so confident in putting the C on him. You would have heard in my Team Reveal 3.0 episode that I was going to put the straight captaincy on him. And that was the reason why. It was just a bit of a shame that the Heat didn't play their full allocated 3 games, because that could have been way more, but turning 190 to 380 with a captaincy double score was absolutely incredible, and did really help me in sort of lieu of having only 3 Heat players. When I saw other teams have 4, 5, 6, I even saw some teams with as many as 7 Heat players, which is, you're going to be a little bit of pickle here, because you're going to have to use almost a boost this round and next round to get rid of those Heat players, as well as the Strikers players that will be on the bye at the same time as the Heat. But that's kind of why you got to plan ahead. Glenn Maxwell, as we saw, came out firing, really the only Stars player that actually produced anything of note. He's just an absolute superstar with the bat and ball as well. Unfortunately, he copped a little bit of a niggle, didn't play in the second game for the Stars, but rest assured, he's going to be playing the double in round 3. The good thing is that the Stars, well timed, they have the bye this coming round 2, and then the Stars have the double in round 3. And the also good thing as well, it's not really a relatively close back-to-back double that they're playing. They're playing on the Saturday first up, and then they're playing on the Tuesday against the Sixers. So just scrolling down here, deviating ever so slightly, I just want to point out here, both Maxwell and Stoinis, this is in terms of those most traded out overall, they're actually the 2 most traded out players. I can kind of understand Stoinis because he didn't really look too good. Looked all right early with the ball in the second game, but he just fell into sort of that heap with the other Stars players that were just absolutely putrid. But Glenn Maxwell, as we all know, is an absolute superstar. He is the one Stars player that you're going to need. 100% of teams should be having and playing Glenn Maxwell in their double in round 3. So if you're trading him out now, you're going to have to waste another trade to bring him back in. So that's virtually 2 wasted trades. So I'd be keeping him in your team, keep him on your bench. And the bonus is here, with the fact that we've got buys in 7 of the 9 rounds of BBL Supercoach, is the fact that you can really use these players, these buy players, to your advantage. And I'll just show you ever so quickly here. So with Glenn Maxwell on the bye, using my bats at the moment, I'll use him as an example. I could use Stoinis as well as an example. And in fact, I'll do both, just to sort of, you're probably all across this, but for those people who are playing BBL Supercoach for the first time, this is sort of the advantage of maybe holding on to some of these buy players, especially if they have a double coming up. So conserve your trades first and foremost, but use them to your advantage when it comes to potential looping options. So the Strikers play first up in round 2 against the Sydney Thunder. What you can do is put the emergency on Darcy Short. We'll take that off Fraser McGurk. And you can really, screen or have a look at how Darcy Short performs in the first game of the round. If he goes out for a duck, if he doesn't bowl, cops a 0, obviously it means that he's relegated to virtually being a 1-game player in a double game week, if you get what I mean. Because, if he doesn't perform in the first game, then you can sort of weigh up. If he scores shit, you can weigh up then, okay, well, do I take a chance on him maybe in the second game against the Sydney Sixers in round 2? Or alternatively, do I then sub on, say, a Fraser McGurk? So say, for example, Darcy Short absolutely kills it, even bowls an over or 2, takes a couple of wickets, ends up, hitting a 50-odd and scores, 80, 90, 100 plus points. If that's the case, you can keep Glenn Maxwell on field, and that will loop on Darcy Short's score, given that Maxwell is on the bye. Alternatively, as I said, if Darcy Short goes absolutely shit, falls short, as it were, you could then take off Maxwell, put on Fraser McGurk, and you've already used the opportunity to have a look at how Darcy Short performs in the first game. You can also just disregard the captaincy and VCs at this stage. And then using Stoinis as another example, because Sydney Thunder play first up against the Strikers, I've got Sanger on the bench. I can easily put the E on Sanger. Make sure you take it off the other player, because otherwise, if both of those guys are emergencies, you're going to get the lower score of the 2. So make sure you put it on a Thunder or a Striker player. If Sanger goes absolutely bananas, I keep Stoinis on field. That loops on Sanger's score. And likewise, if Sanger goes absolutely shit, I can then, he stays as E. I could then take off Stoinis and then put Cooper Connolly on field. So that's really the bonus here of having, as I said, 7 buys across the 9 SuperCoach BBL rounds. So really do keep that in mind. Sorry, I've deviated a little bit here, but I just wanted to touch on that early, just because it is a benefit and a bonus with keeping some of these buy players. So, to that point as well, I guess the Strikers and the Heat, as I said, they have the buy in round 3. But, you're not going to be able to trade out, probably, depending on how many Heat and Strikers players you're going to have, you're not going to be able to trade out all these guys. And I think there are guys that you want to keep in your team, potentially, say, a Matt Short. You might want to keep who else is there? A Nisa, maybe. Guys of those ilk that are really high quality, you can keep them as, across their bye week and then use them as loophole options, as I've just shown you there with Maxwell and Stoinis as an example. Okay, so let's move on and keep analysing my team. So as you saw there, Munro, super consistent, happy enough with that. Great, and just I'm happy that I took the gamble, because a lot of people ended up going for, what's his name, Chaudhary, or Chaudhary for the Canes as a bit of a loophole option. I spoke at length about the reasons as to why I don't think you should be going down that route, because it means that you've got one less cash cow by having Chaudhary, and potentially, one less player that's going to have a double game week coming up, if you opted for Chaudhary over, say, a Renegades player, for example. So that's part of the reason why, using Jake Fraser-McGurk, I went for him over someone like a Chaudhary. And again, as I spoke of twice already, or 3 times, is the fact that we have buys over 7 of the 9 rounds in BBL. So you don't really need a loophole option here. So I'm happy that I was able to, I guess throw the dice down and see how the roulette wheel spun, and was pretty lucky with that. But as I said, it was kind of a calculated risk, knowing the consistency of Munro with the bat. Paul Walter, Tall Paul as they call him, absolute mammoth machine of a bloke, went up 11k, scored quite well. A lot of people had it. Oh, actually, no, 14.6. I thought he was going to be more than that. So happy enough considering that. Not so much a pod, but more of a pod than what I thought, and ended up taking 3 wickets, had 11 dot balls, and had the economy rate bonus as well, and took a catch in field as well. So pretty, and 6 runs as well. So bit of a bonus there. And the DPP is super handy. Josh Philippe, again, he was someone that I think other people were happy to take the risk on not starting him, because he was a bit of an anti-pod. I spoke at length about how consistent he was across the journey. He's finished as a top 10 scorer, sometimes a top 5 scorer across previous BBL Supercoach seasons. And in 52% of teams, it's no wonder as to why he was so popular. Ended up scoring 100 on the dot, went up 11.1k, severely underpriced, as I spoke of at length in previous episodes, and at the moment is the 7th best scoring bat, and also the 1st best wicketkeeper scorer at the moment. So he faces the Strikers in the first game, and I guess the strategy, which I spoke of again in the previous episode, was the fact that having these Sixers players in Curran and Philippe, who are both pretty consistent, they don't have a bye across the entirety of their Sixers season. So it means that I can trade around them and have confidence in knowing that these guys are going to be, more often than not, pretty consistent and reliable. Jake Fraser-McGurk, so Maxwell's on field, switch that back. As I said, Maxi, he'll come back. I'll keep him, as a lot of people should, as I spoke of, for the Stars double in round 3, and use him to my advantage with the bye. Fraser-McGurk, happy that I kept him, obviously, as I spoke of. And Darcy Short, I've started him. Didn't play because the Strikers game was washed out. But yeah, just to have him means that I don't have to use an extra trade in order to bring him into my team. And speaking of this, of washouts and, I guess bad luck that we had in round 1. So obviously there was a washout with the Strikers game, but then the fact that the Scorchers, so I went 3 Scorchers and, virtually 3 Renegades players. That was 6 players where I was impacted in that Geelong game between the Scorchers and the Gades, where the game was started, the pitch wasn't inspected properly, and it meant that I think Hardy ended up scoring a 20 or a 30 with the bat. So lucky enough that that stemmed his cash bleed. But it meant that guys like Jai Richardson didn't bowl. Zampa obviously didn't play, but Kane Richardson played. They dropped in price because they copped a 0. And that is just shit luck, really, especially those of us like myself who ended up going pretty hard on the Scorchers and Renegades in preparation for the Renegades double in round 3. So that was unfortunate. Jai Richardson, though, he's an absolute gun, as we saw. Probably should have taken more wickets than what he did across the one game that they played. As I said, they should have played the double, but 2 wickets, 15 dot balls, economy rate bonus of 20 for a score of 74. So extrapolate that. At the very least, he would have, scored about 140, 150 if he played the 2 games. So a bit miffed with that, but it is what it is. And, in 20% of teams, it hurts 20% of us that do have him. Likewise as well, Aaron Hardy, 37% of teams. He went down only 4.1k, thankfully, but scored an 85, 40 runs with the bat, and strike rate bonus. Took a wicket as well, was happy enough with that. Good to see him bowl a few overs and took a catch with 5 dot balls. But the main thing with Jai Richardson, the one annoying thing with that game that was abandoned at Geelong, was the fact that because he was classified as scoring a 0 when really, I could talk about this at length, but he shouldn't have gone down. It shouldn't have been factored into his price decrease or increase, and he has dropped 17.3k given his lofty price tag. So that's really going to hurt people that don't have cash in the bank, that wanted to trade him straight to Matt Short. That's going to be a popular strategy, or would have been a popular strategy coming into the season. But I'll get into a moment as to why, thankfully, I have kind of, I had a bit of a safety net there to help me, but it is going to stuff up a few of my trades. But I'll get into that in a moment. And to round us out, Zampa, as I said, played the first game, was rested in the second, even though it wasn't played, so it didn't really matter. It was probably a good thing because otherwise he would have had a 0 and he would have dropped in price. So 62, ended up taking 2 wickets, 7 dot balls, and a 15 point economy rate bonus. So not too bad there. Kane Richardson, as I said, he's copped a 0 virtually in his second game that was abandoned. Went down 14.5k. That hurts because he's only in 9% of teams, and I was, as you would have heard in my previous Team Reveal 3.0 episode, that I was weighing up between Richo and Cheith Sutho, and obviously missed out on an odd, 100 and, what did Sutho score? I think it was like 100 and something ridiculous, because he went up 23.1k. He scored a 177 in one game. So ended up missing out on 150 points extra off the back of that one decision. So it hurts, and it does hurt. And who knows, Richo may have pegged back some of that, may have, had 2-3 wickets. We don't know in that game that was abandoned, but it is what it is. And then Cooper Connolly, he was actually on my bench. Stupidly placed Stoinis over Connolly. I thought Stoin might have started the season well, like the Stars, but wasn't to be. And I thought he was going to actually bowl some overs in the first game. And it's quite funny that when Maxi was out of the second game, that Stoin came in as the captain, stand-in captain, and actually bowled himself. So yeah, that was quite funny. But ended up scoring the 28. Just wasn't good enough, unfortunately. 4 dot balls, which helped, and took a catch in the field as well, and 15 runs, just not good enough. And then Tian Viasanga, spoke of him, super happy with him. And then Cooper Connolly as well, 87. So that could have been, just these 2 decisions is really like almost a 200 point difference between, going for Richo instead of the Cheith Sutherland and playing Stoinis ahead of Connolly. Those are really the only sort of decisions that I was weighing up. So yeah, aside from that, relatively happy with the way things landed. So let's get into now in terms of the trades ahead of round 2. And no surprise here, as you can see on the right-hand side. Let me see if I can switch this over. So as you can see there, Adelaide have the double. So, as they say, it's going to be like shelling peas. You've got to go for Matt Short, an absolute gun. It comes down to who you can afford to really trade to him. The fact that the Strikers game was virtually washed out is the fact that, it would have been nice if their game was the one that was abandoned, the Scorchers and the Renegades, because he would have dropped in price. Similar to, say, like a Jai Richardson. But because that game is abandoned overall, he has since held his price, and he's priced at 244.100. So full price. And as I said, it would have been a nice, easy switch to go from Jai Richardson to Matt Short. And now you're going to have to fork out about 15 odd K or thereabouts. Thankfully, I've got cash in the bank. As they say with the killers, cash in the bank, fill in the tank, all that sort of stuff. So it means that I'm able to still trade out Richo. I'd love to keep Richo, but considering that, let me just switch across to here. As you can see here, the fixture, the Scorchers, they have a back-to-back buy double coming up in round 4 and round 5. So you want to kind of be, shedding yourself of the Scorchers players ahead of them. You could probably carry maybe one, like a Cooper Connolly or the like, on your bench. But keep that in mind. And I think with the Scorchers, and with these guys, I'll just go across the SuperCoach Plus. You can see here, Richo's break-even's 130, and we know the quality of him. You could probably hit that in all honesty, but just with that price point, more than likely he's going to drop in price a little bit. Projected to actually drop 17.8K. And likewise, Aaron Huddy as well, break-even of 69 with the bat. And if he bowls as well, he could potentially get that. But just these guys at the higher price point is going to make it so much easier to trade to, better quality players from the strikers. So from the get-go, let's trade out Richo to Matt Short. And of course, with Shorty being a bat and a bowler, you can potentially bring him into your batsman category or your bowlers. But at this stage, he's there for Richo for me. Leaves me with 17.1K in the bank, less than what I'd like. But we'll just do this first off. So that's the first trade I'm going to be doing. That's a non-negotiable. And outside of this, it probably comes down to the strategy side of things. So I could potentially, I've already got Darcy Short on the bench there. I'll need to work out, as I said, with Maxwell there, I guess I don't really have to think about who I bring on. I'll be using Darcy Short as an emergency for Maxi. If he goes shit, I'll bring on Fraser McGurk for Maxi. If Darcy Short goes well in the first game, bit of a two bites of the cherry type scenario, I'll put McGurk on if Short goes shit. And I think the 3 trades, you can potentially use the boost. I'll get into it in a little bit more detail as to how you could use it. I don't think I'd recommend using the boost to bring in 4 strikers. As I said, they've got the buy. No doubt you've got quite a few Heat players as well. And depending on the number of Heat players you're trading out this week, you're going to be in a little bit of a pickle with both strikers and Heat players on their buy for round 3. So, I'd probably say for me, I'm looking to start 3 strikers players. I don't know about a 4th just because of the fact that I don't want to be left having to carry too many Heat and strikers players if I don't need to. So, unless of course they're good quality. So I think from here, I'll be bringing in obviously another strikers player just to give me Darcy Short, Matt Short, and another. But it comes down to who I trade out in order to be able to afford, a good quality player at, the higher price point. So I'd need to get rid of someone like a Munro. But speaking of Munro, he's got a break even of negative 28. And if he goes bananas like he did in round 1, he could go up, as you can see there, between 20 and 30K. So I'll need to weigh up whether or not I get rid of him. But I think Billings was always the one that I was thinking of getting rid of. You could probably keep him if you want to, but, Pearson's probably going to come back for round 2. And it does mean that Billings will lose the glove. So there's less opportunity for him to make points as a straight batsman. So break even of 45 could maybe make it, but I think for me, I'd like to move him on. The only downside to that is the fact that it does disable the wicketkeeper batsman, DPP activation, and I'd have to find a way to get McDermott into the bats in order to keep that DPP link alive. But for now, let's just have a quick look as to who I could afford with the 17K on top of, where are we? On top of Billings. So we'll just limit it to strikers players here. So I've only got 131.4K. And I could go for Overton. I think of the guys that I'm really eyeing off, it'd be Overton, or if we have a look, if I switch, say, Connolly into my bats. In terms of straight bowlers, I don't mind Thornton. It was a revelation at the start of last year, but kind of fell away. I do like David Payne. I think he's someone that's going to absolutely smash it, but with this cash available, I won't be able to afford him, so I may have to settle for Overton. So we'll go back as to where we were, and we'll put Overton in there for the time being. And he's a genuine all-rounder as well, so with bat and ball, could go okay, hopefully. But again, here we go. Only leaves in the 6.4k in the bank. And the other guy that I want to get in my team, and again, it goes back to that point of always looking forward, always planning for the upcoming fixture and doubles, is, as I spoke of, sliding doors, Will Sutherland. So with Sutho, his break-even's -16. So chances are, in all likelihood, he's going to go up in cash. Genuine all-rounder nowadays. With the bat, as we saw in the first game, absolutely smashed it. I guess the only game that the Gates played on the weekend. 51 runs, had 3 wickets, strike rate bonus. He had the run bonus, 16 dot balls, mind you, and an economy rate of 15 points as well. So combining for a 177, his break even, -16, and he's projected to go up potentially 17k almost. So as you can see there, second highest scoring batsman and the first highest scoring bowler in terms of both of those rankings there for points scored. So I think, if you don't have Sutho, I would highly, highly, highly recommend. He should be in the top 2 trade-ins for me if you haven't got him, just because he's going to be at that higher price point. He's going to be pushing, if not eclipsing, the 200k mark, and you're going to have to get rid of, someone like a Matt Shaw, which you could potentially still do, but always have a look at the break-even, play the break-even game, and use the market to your advantage when it comes to the fluctuations in price. So I'll be using one of my 3 trades on Sutho. Obviously, that higher price point means that I need to get rid of someone of quality. So I'd have to get rid of someone like a Munro. Again, they have a similar price point and also a similar break even as well. -16 for Sutho, -28 for Munro. So I guess they kind of cancel each other out a little bit. Who knows, Munro may go out cheaply. And if that's the case, he'll still go up in price, but won't go up in price as much as what we think he will, and as what SuperCoach Plus has outlined there potentially as a 26k rise. So I might be doing that just to help me out. If not, I'm going to have to get rid of someone like a... will that work? I don't think it'll work with Hardy, unfortunately. I won't have enough cash. I fall short by what's that? $900. Hate that. It really does hurt when you see that. You come so close to bringing in a player, and the price fluctuations with that abandoned game for the Renegades and Scorchers really has hurt me. So it looks as though at this stage, I'm going to have to get rid of, keep Hardy potentially and get rid of a Munro. Munro you're going to have to get rid of next week anyway, I think, because, as I said, the Heat being on the bye. I'll be keeping Curran. He's another one I could get rid of, but I don't really want to. So, yeah, that's virtually all I could do. So I think at this stage, Munro, you've served me well in round 1 as the El Capitano as well. But let's bring in Sutho. And it leaves me with 7.9k. We'll lock that in. And that's how my team will look at this stage. In terms of the boosts, I'll get into this very, very quickly before I get into my captains. We'll do the captains and VCs quite quickly. So Matt Shaw, because it is quite easy, is playing first up. As we said there, we really have 2 bites of the cherry. He's on a double. He's an absolute gun, genuine all-rounder. One of the best scorers in recent times, the BBL Supercoach. And if he absolutely kills it, we can put the C on one of these Stars players. So we're in a pretty fortunate position there. Keep in mind, though, if we have to rely on one of these buy players, one of the Stars, to lock in the VC score as the captain, it does mean that we're going to have to be forced to take, say, Sanger's score or a Darcy Short. But at least then we have 2 buy players that we can kind of choose between, and chances are at least one of these guys, Sanger or Short, will have a semi-respectable score that we can keep one of these stars players on field and use them as a bit of the captaincy loophole. So that's kind of the plan there. If Matt Short fails, I might go for Sutho. Or I'm not confident in... I reckon probably Sutho would be for me. Potentially Curran, don't mind him. I'd be looking at a genuine, as I said, all-rounder. Keep that in mind. And to round things out, let's go across the boosts. So I'm thinking about potentially using a boost here, but keep in mind, due to the shortened season, we've only got 2 boosts. So you really do have to use them strategically and use them wisely. So the one train of thought is to use a boost early after round 1 to jump on a cash cow that you've missed. And the big cash cow that I've missed, as you can probably see there, and I'll scroll down here so you can see the most traded in players, and it's Swepson. Negative 70 break even, if you don't mind. I was thinking about starting him. I thought he'd have reduced overs just because of Kuhnemann playing also as another, first choice spin option, as we saw last season. But Swepson actually bowled pretty well and played well to his credit. So, I'm thinking of maybe bringing him in, but at 103.4k, it means I have to get rid of someone like, again, a Walter. Trading a heat to a heat player isn't going to serve me much. Sure, it gives me an extra cash cow, but it means I'm going to have to carry Sweppo on the bench, or alternatively play him. And as a genuine bowler, I'm kind of strapped for 4 spots here. I'd need to either move like a Hardy into the bats. Both of these guys are going to play in Zampa and Richo, first choice. Stoin, you could probably do. I could even trade Stoin, but again, the Stars have the double in round 3, so I wouldn't really recommend in trading any of the Stars players, as I spoke about. And the other thing for me is the fact that I'm pretty happy with the cash cows that I already have in McDermott. He's kind of the only cash cow you can get when it comes to the wicketkeeper position, so he's a non-negotiable. Fraser McGurk, happy with him. Darcy Short, got to keep him because of the fact that the strikers are on a double. Tanveer Sanger, genuine cash cow, going to be one of the best ones. And Cooper Connolly as well. So outside of those guys already, I'm pretty happy with the cash cows. As I said, I could potentially move Hardy into the bats and then trade out Walter. That's an option, but I wouldn't be trading out any Renegades players. They've got a double coming up next round. Stoin, likewise. And there's no one else that I could really get rid of. So I don't think I'll be going down that route. Some people might, and I'd maybe recommend it if you've missed out on the likes of a Cooper Connolly or a Tanveer Sanger or a McGurk. But even then, just because the Heat have the bye coming up, I would prioritise first and foremost in terms of cash cow Sanger, 100%. Jump on him if you haven't got him, because he's going to skyrocket in price. Negative 35 break even, and an absolute quality bowler. Will play week in, week out for the Thunder. Cooper Connolly as well, a genuine all-rounder nowadays with a bat and ball. I think Mackenzie being in the team, as I said, really did cramp his style, limited him to, limited overs. Otherwise, he would have played his full allotment of 4 overs without Agar being there. With Agar coming back, I think Mackenzie's going to lose his spot, and Connolly probably will bowl still maybe 2-3 overs like he has been. If he bowls at 2 overs, it means that he misses his economy rate bonus because of the fact that you need to bowl 3 overs in order to, activate or qualify for that economy rate bonus. But Sanger, Connolly are the ranks. Fraser McGurk as well. Actually, probably put Fraser McGurk above Connolly at this stage, just because the Gates have the double coming up next round in round 3. And then I'd have Connolly as the third option. And then, I guess you can look at Sweppo. Sweppo is probably... And I actually put Sweppo as sort of an even third option alongside Connolly. Connolly is kind of elevated because he's that all-rounder and can score, 2 bites of the cherry with the bat and ball. Sweppo, he could get overlooked. He could only play limited overs. Potentially, if Kuhnemann comes out and bowls pretty well early, he might only get limited overs like, I expected him to in the first round. So those are my allocations for me. Mackenzie I wouldn't even look at because, as I said, with Agar on the cusp coming back, which he should for round 2, I think Mackenzie well as he bowled, unfortunately, I think he's going to be relegated to running drinks. So that's pretty much it in terms of covering off all things trades. If you have any questions, feel free to let us know in the comment section below. And as always, if you love our content, if you're enjoying what we're producing, please consider hitting that subscribe button. We really do appreciate it. And I guess the next goal for us is to try and eclipse the 1,100 subscriber mark. But of course, just a reminder, and we haven't forgotten, of course, we will be doing our 1,000 subscriber giveaway very, very soon. Just trying to get some stuff sent to us so we could send out this prize as to whatever it could be. You'll find out very, very soon. So we can get it sent out to the lucky winner. And we will be doing, look out for this, an individual video which will be part of the giveaway. So we'll put that out with a bit more details, reveal what the prize is that we're giving away, and all you need to do is comment in the comment section of that video when we release it, and you'll put yourself in the running. So look out for that. Super excited, and that'll be coming very, very soon. But for now, that is pretty much my team. If there's any other changes, I'll probably announce them on our Twitter. Have a look, supercoach_edge. Make sure you're following us on that. Likewise on Facebook. Also, we are on TikTok as well, just for some memes and light-hearted banter. But that's pretty much it. Into round 2. Hopefully you guys came away relatively unscathed coming out of round 1 with the carnage that we faced there, and we pray for no more carnage. I haven't had a look as yet before I sign off as to the weather because, of course, round 2 doesn't start until the 19th, which is 4 days away from my time recording this. So have a look on Twitter. We'll be discussing that. But if the weather does turn for any of those games, obviously my trades may switch off the back of that. But in short, I'll be going for 3 strikers. I'll be bringing in an extra renegade ahead of the double for round 3. And then maybe I could use another boost to bring in another cash cow, but at this stage I don't think I will. Be keeping those boosts up my sleeve to maximise the amount of points on field and really maximising getting those extra players in for double game rounds from here on out. But as I said, leave your comments and questions below this video. Until next time, all the very best, and we'll catch you same time, same place. Cheers for tuning in.